Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira. Well, in a significant judgment delivered on Wednesday, the Supreme Court laid down guidelines for determining the quantum of interim maintenance to be awarded during pendency of matrimonial matters from the day it had been filed. The bench of Justices Indu Malhotra and R. Subhash Reddy also made it mandatory for a spouse to reveal at any maintenance proceedings whether any other court had already granted the spouse maintenance under some other law. It also made it mandatory for both spouses to state their financial positions at any maintenance proceedings and update the affidavit whenever significant changes occur in their circumstances during the course of the hearings. Estranged wives often seek maintenance simultaneously under various laws such as the Hindu Marriage Act, Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act, Domestic Violence Act, Special Marriages Act and Section 125 of the Criminal Penal Code. While keeping the various courts in the dark about this, the bench noted. Now, the bench also stressed that the need for both spouses to file an affidavit of disclosure of assets and liabilities during maintenance proceedings at any court as well. The existing statutes do not mandate such disclosures. The ruling came on a maintenance dispute between a Mumbai-based couple. In this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyze the Supreme Court's guidelines on matrimonial disputes. Joining me on the program today are Atin Shankar Rastogi, advocate of the Supreme Court, Professor V. Rajalakshmi, sociologist, Janki Devi Memorial College, Delhi University, and Rekha Agarwal, advocate of the Supreme Court as well. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. So, Atin Rastogi, let me begin the program with you first. Let's understand and analyze the guidelines of the Supreme Court. It was a long 67-page guidelines that it issued.
Yes, the judgment is it's a path-breaking judgment, and they have laid down 6 principles which were very essential to cut down the litigation and to give clarity to the judicial officers for the entire country and for the litigants and for the lawyers. First of all, there is a concept of set-off which has been reiterated by the Supreme Court, and it has been held that in case if there are multiple proceedings under which wife has claimed maintenance, so the proceedings in which the maintenance has been granted earlier will be set off in the fresh application of maintenance. Say, for example, if the wife has already been granted, say, 30,000 of rupees of maintenance in Section 125 proceedings, and in Domestic Violence Act, she is granted 45,000 as maintenance. So 30,000 will be deducted, which she has already been granted. Though this was being followed by almost all the courts earlier also, but this judgment would really help to certainly clarify this position. And one thing is also tacitly clarified by the judgment is that proceedings in all other laws also can go simultaneously. Because earlier there was a conflict that yes, if you have filed Section 125 of criminal proceedings, you cannot claim maintenance under Domestic Violence Act or under Hindu Maintenance Act. So all these proceedings can go simultaneously, but they have to take care of the maintenance which has already been granted.
Right.
Then there is a concept of filing affidavits, which affidavits are basically there are 3 segments to the affidavit. One is the affidavit which can be used in metro cities, and the other affidavit is to be filed by the husband and the wife who are living in rural cities. And the third one is for tribal areas and primarily from Meghalaya. So the judgment clarifies that in metro cities, the state of ownership, the kind of lifestyle that the people live is different from the lifestyle that the people live in the villages or in rural area. Like if we see the affidavit for rural areas, we see that there is a mention of livestock, cows, fisheries, and assets of that nature, and lease or bhatta, wherein the agricultural cultivists take the land on hire and then they cultivate. So all these things are very meticulously researched by I'm sure the amicus and the state legal authorities, and they have been updated. So that is a very good aspect that has been clarified in this judgment. Though in Delhi, there was a judgment of Kusum Sharma in which the affidavits were being filed earlier also. But this will have an impact on pan-India basis. which will, give a uniform color to all the proceedings. This is the best aspect of this judgment.
Right.
Then there is a concept of from which date do we reckon that the maintenance should be granted. Because what happens when the spouse files for maintenance, primarily wife files for the maintenance, for her maintenance and for the children, and it is granted, say, after 6 months, 2 years, or 3 years. So then the question arises, from which date the maintenance should be given to the wife. So in most of the cases, the courts grant from the date of the application when the wife filed the application. In some of the cases, it is granted from the date of the order, and in some of the cases it is granted from the date of the summons on which the husband was served the summons of the application. So this judgment clarifies that the maintenance will be granted from the date when it is filed.
Sure.
So this clarifies the position.
Okay.
Then it
Points
comes.
noted. Let me take
Yes,
the points
yes.
that you're making forward with the other panelists as well. So, Rekha Agarwal, let me bring you into the picture now. So, let's talk about, the various laws dealing with issues of matrimonial dispute or matrimonial maintenance, because there are quite a few actually.
Yes. In fact, as my elder brother, Mr. Rastogi, also mentioned right now, there are various laws under which maintenance can be awarded to women, especially the estranged wives, who have been either thrown out of their matrimonial home or who have walked out of their own choice and have got minor children to support. So we have, supposing there is a matrimonial proceeding going on, a divorce proceeding going on. So in that, under Section 24 of the Hindu Marriage Act, either party, in fact, can ask for maintenance pendente lite, that is during the pendency of the divorce proceedings. Even the husband, in fact, can ask for maintenance. Then we have 125 CRPC, 125 Criminal Procedure Code, in which the wife can ask for maintenance for herself till she gets remarried, as well as maintenance for her children. In fact, where a daughter is concerned, the father is often supposed to pay even marriage expenses for the grown-up daughter. So we have the Hindu Marriage Act, we have the 125 Criminal Procedure Code, we have the Domestic Violence Act, in which an estranged wife can ask for maintenance for herself and for her children. She can ask for residence orders, she can ask for child support, etc. Then we also have the Hindu Adoptions and Maintenance Act, in which the wife can ask for maintenance depending upon the yearly quantum of salary of the husband. And under the Special Marriage Act also, there is a provision for asking for maintenance from the husband. So in fact, all the matrimonial laws of our country, they have made provision for maintenance for the spouse as well as for the minor children. It is another matter altogether that whenever there is a matrimonial dispute, both the parties are warring with each other. Both parties do not come out honestly. Even the wife. I must admit that sometimes even the wives are not very honest about what they are earning or what their earning capacity is or what their earning ability is, because capacity to earn and ability to earn are both two different things. So this recent judgment, which has just been passed yesterday, it has in fact summarized the entire law regarding maintenance, because we no doubt had that affidavit, the detailed affidavit, because as I just said, both sides are lying through their teeth, if I may say so. I'm using a rather harsh word, but both sides do not come out very openly. The very fact is that, as they say, you bite your nose to spite your face. You don't want your wife or your other, or your spouse to get that pleasure of giving you maintenance, of getting the maintenance from the order of the court. So you want to deny your wife, you want to deny your children, even at the cost of denying your own children. So this order, which has been passed yesterday by the division bench of the Honorable Supreme Court, the basic object is to protect a wife from destitution and vagrancy. Because if she has been thrown out of the matrimonial home, she immediately needs support. She needs what are called the three basic requirements of every human being are food, clothing, and shelter. She also needs a roof on her head. So the Domestic Violence Act, in fact, makes provision for right of residence also. So this judgment, I would say that it is going to make a big dent in the efforts of the husbands who try to deny maintenance to their wife by, as I was just talking with Ms. Rajalakshmi before the session started, that, where a husband is having a fixed salary, it becomes easy for the courts to determine his income and assets. But where the husbands are not having any fixed income, for example, if they're in a business, or in a joint family business, as we have in India, we have mainly the joint family culture. So they may be a big business, a big industrial house behind the husband, but the husband may have nothing in his name. And
Right.
when it comes to the court, he will just say that I don't have anything. He may be living in a palatial house, but he may end up saying that this house does not belong to me, this belongs to my parents. Though, of course, very recently, just about 2 weeks ago, the Honorable Supreme Court, in the case of Satish Chandra Ahuja versus Sneha, has laid down the right of all women to stay in their husband's house and their in-laws' house, even if the house is not owned by the husband. So, looking in the entire scenario, I think I welcome this judgment, and as this is going to have a pan-India effect, it will make it easier for the wives to claim maintenance, easier for the courts also to determine, because everything will be in black and white. And
Sure.
there's a rider to all these affidavits that if any side lies about it, they're warned that the after effects of this is that you may have a case of perjury, a criminal complaint of perjury against you,
Right.
which may land you behind the gallows.
Okay. All right. So, Veerachal Lakshmi, let me bring you in now. So, as far as India is concerned, the kind of society that we live in, we've seen several atrocities being committed against women as well. So, from that perspective, how important is it, to look at maintenance as a whole and to ensure that the woman gets her due? And also, we can look at it the other way around too.
Every individual has a right to live a life of dignity. Every individual has a right to live in an environment which is conducive for them to be able to cope up with the situations. So dignity is very, very important. It holds for both men and women. In our society, unfortunately, what happens is that the women face a lot of issues. Being a patriarchal society, a lot of working women are expected to be at home, and they are forced to leave their jobs to take care of the young or to take care of the elderly in the house. So working educated women many a times tend to leave their jobs. As a result, what happens is they sacrifice their life to take care of the family, and when something goes wrong in the relationship, then unfortunately when she's denied the maintenance, it becomes very tough. Now, of course, I really congratulate this step, because it's one step forward. But more than laws, more than anything else, it is very, very important that people should able to respect each other's dignity. And if you're in a relationship, it is very important to respect whatever you have given, any number of years you have put in that. These days, what is happening is the society is changing so fast. The pressure of maintaining a relationship is also too much. Both men and women are equally facing this pressure. And the job scenes are also very different. Employment, the graph has changed, where initially it is to be okay for a man to work and women to be at home. Now the need is both for men and women to work equally hard. And once both of them go out, it is also very important to understand that once they are at home, they should be able to respect each other and the relationships are maintained. Because the moment there is a conflict in the relationship, which ends in the break in the relationship, then all these issues come up. So I think the first step is, in a society which is fast changing, where the relationships are changing so fast, it is very, very important that we should be more sensitive towards maintaining. And of course, when there is a divorce for some reason, if the marriage is not able to, if people are not able to continue, yes, they have every right to lead separate lives. But when they are leading separate lives, it's also very important to respect that and do not enter into any verbal and non-verbal conflict or communications, which leads to any kind of disrespect, because dignity is very important. And once you have given something in your relationship, maintenance is of course your right. In case for some reason a woman is unable to provide for herself, it becomes essential for men to be sensitive and to provide for the needs of the wife.
Right. Okay. Let me take a couple of points forward with you. Atin Rastogi, you also mentioned it in your opening remark about, the different laws that pertain to this particular issue. Rekha Agarwal also very eloquently pointed out, what the various laws are. And she also brought out this fact about how both parties, in court lied through their teeth. So are the laws at some level misused as well?
Certainly, the laws are misused, and it is not that in certain cases, most of the cases, the wives are victimized, and nobody can deny that fact. They have raised the children, and they are the provider of the house in terms of taking care of the household, and that aspect is not taken care for by anyone. We take it for granted that women are just managing the house, and we give respect to the man because since he gets the money from outside. But what is most important is that at times we've seen that these laws are being misused and exploited, and it happens both ways, more by men, I would not deny that fact, by concealing their income, by not coming out truthfully what exactly they owe. And suddenly we see in cases in which husbands are roaring successfully, multiple cars and everything, and moment the maintenance case is filed, they are in complete state of penury. They are traveling by public transport. They don't have means to, their mobiles are normal mobiles, which were iPhones earlier. So all these things happen. And at the same time, with respect to women also, they tend to exaggerate in terms of their expenses which they are incurring in terms of their standard of living. And especially there is a category of women, if we see at times, we see that I have seen in many cases, and they leave their jobs, well paying jobs. Then there are two aspects to it. One may be that they are not able to cope up with the pressure of the job and to raise the kids and the family. That is justifiable, but that depends on case to case basis. But I have seen that women, to seek maintenance and to seek revenge from the husband, they leave their jobs or lucrative jobs, or they conceal their income, even if they are earning part time. Say they're running some beauty parlor or they're running some boutique from the house, they conceal that income. So all these aspects are also there, wherein the laws are, they are taken for a ride, and but courts have to decide on basis of the documents, getting into the real truth and the meat of the matter. And it is a very difficult job for the judiciary to decide, because I have seen in cases wherein one case the wife is getting maintenance of 10 lakhs per month, I mean to say, and she's asking for more because she wants that her children should be studying abroad, and she should, the car she has got is Audi 5 series, but it should be 7 series. And and the husband is providing 10 lakhs per month. So for any normal human being, 10 lakhs per month would be a very substantial amount, but for her this is a very meager amount, and she's asking for 25 lakhs or 30 lakhs per month. And the next case, when it is called, it's a rickshaw puller's case, wherein he says, I earn on daily basis and I may earn 500 a day, I may earn 200 a day. And there are five children who have to be, fed by the family, and the wife is living separately. So the judiciary has to be cognizant, and they
Sure.
are very empathetic for all these cases, and they deal with these cases with on basis of documents and on basis of circumstances of the parties. So this is what is there that has to be taken
Absolutely,
into.
absolutely. And all these documents are, or could be manipulated as well. So that is something that needs to be very closely monitored and watched. And it is a difficult task at the end of the day. So since we're talking about finances and the financial aspects of things, Rekha Agarwal, what happens, in between a case if the financial status of, say, the husband or the wife changes? What happens in a scenario like that?
In such a scenario, Frank, it is expected of either of the parties whose financial status has changed for the better or for the worse to bring it to the notice of the honorable court. Especially the husband, if he's a giving party, he's the one who is facing an order of maintenance which has been passed against him, and he's supposed to give an X amount of rupees for maintenance towards his wife and children. He can, of course, move an appropriate application before the concerned court. The court is not oblivious. The court is not blind to the reality that, yes, if his salary or his earning capacity has actually changed, then the court can modify it in a given circumstance. Supposing he suffered a big financial loss in his business, or if he's lost his job, in the current scenario where people are losing their jobs left, right, and center, a man who's earning today may just be, given the pink slip tomorrow. So he can, of course, bring it to the notice of the Honorable Court. And the courts, as I said, the courts, as is that old saying goes, the courts are blind. They have a, patti on their head. In the eyes of the court, both are equal. The husband as well as the wife, they are equal. The court is primarily concerned in this particular judgment, as I said earlier, to save a wife, an estranged wife, from destitution and vagrancy. That is what she needs, is the basic necessity as compared to a luxury. As Mr. Rastogi just was giving an example of an Audi 5 Series car and a 7 Series car. So here the court not only has to see that the basic necessities are provided, and at the same time, the court has also given, one of the guidelines that the court has given in this judgment, besides in the 7 guidelines, is that the wife should be entitled to lead the same life, the same standard of living that she was maintaining in a matrimonial home. So her own parental home, her father may be living a very lower kind of a life, but the husband may be enjoying a better financial status. The husband cannot come around and say that whatever peanuts that I'm providing to you are more than enough, because this is what you were getting in your father's home, or this is what you were, what you're entitled to. This is the best I can give. So the wife is entitled to claim according to enjoy the same status as her husband that she was enjoying in her matrimonial home. But the courts can, of course, modify the order at any time. Supposing the status of the husband goes down, the husband can move an application for modification. And if the status goes up, if the wife learns about it, that today my husband is earning 10,000 rupees per month, but tomorrow he's maybe earning 25,000 rupees per month. So she can move an application for enhancement. The courts will certainly take both the things into account.
Since we're talking about the, the blindfolding of the courts and talking about equality, very quickly, I want to bring in another aspect and take it forward with you, Rekha Agarwal. Times have changed. The situation is very different in 2020. We have several stay-at-home dads as well. So are they also entitled to maintenance? Is the law same for them?
No. The husbands are not entitled to maintenance if they are, in fact, the only law in which in a country in which a husband can claim maintenance is in the Hindu Marriage Act, that too under Section 24, if a matrimonial proceeding is going on. So in the example that you're given, that we have got various stay-at-home husbands, if the husband has initiated any divorce proceeding against his wife, or if the wife has initiated any such proceedings, then even the husband can move an application for maintenance, pendentolite, and litigation expenses. That is the only provision in law in which a husband can claim maintenance from his wife. And there is no other law, the 125 CRPC, which I mentioned, is only for wives. Even the Domestic Violence Act, so talking of gender neutrality, I must admit over here that we are talking of gender neutrality. We want that both genders should be treated equal. But as of now, the laws are certainly tilted in favor of the women, and a husband cannot, there is no provision in law under which he can ask for maintenance, except under Section 24 of the Hindu Marriage Act.
Absolutely. Maybe the time has come to take a relook at these laws as well, and bring in some kind of an umbrella law that looks into everything or all aspects. All right. So, V. Rajalakshmi, what's the best way forward?
See, the best way forward is, of course, as I said, that, laws are very important, but we must also understand that India has a lot of diversities in terms of culture, class, urban-rural divide, the developmental pattern, all is very, divided, and society is moving very fast. There's too much of rubbing of relationships. So the way forward is best, of course, is that to respect the law, but at the same time, as I said earlier also, to respect your relationship and respect the fact that there is a dignity to be maintained in terms, suppose in case a wife is not able to earn or not able to provide for herself, that she should get a right for maintenance. At the same time, the women who are able to feed for themselves also should give the relief to men in case they are unable to actually provide or go beyond a point. So it needs to be, both the parties needs to be very sensitive in terms of their needs. And as the lawyers have said that, they come across cases where women show a lot of greed and men try to hide their income. After all, at the end of the day, you have lived with a partner for a long time. So it is important to respect that and ensure that, you respect the law and respect whatever is there in the law and move forward. So my thing way forward would be is to be more sensitive towards
Absolutely.
the law,
Absolutely. All right.
towards the relationship, and towards the aspect that you have a right, but please do not cross that right and become greedy. That's it.
Okay. Okay. Adin Rastogi, in 30 seconds, close the show for us with your concluding remarks.
I think it's a path-breaking judgment which will take us forward for streamlining the entire litigation on all India basis. So we should welcome this judgment, and one should be sensitive. I certainly respect that we should be sensitive towards the wives and towards the husbands as well. And it's a stepping stone, and I'm sure this will clear so many confusions and conflicts of judgments of different high courts, and it will help the litigants to understand the proceedings better and to get the relief within stipulated time period.
Sure.
So
Right.
this very wonderful job.
Okay.
Oh, I
all right.
just
On
want
that-
to add one thing. The
Yeah,
children
very
are also
quickly.
very important, because any kind of a conflict, any kind of, the court fights and the way the parents present also has a huge effect on children. So that also needs to be taken into account.
Okay. Okay. And Rekha Agarwal, since everyone has said something in the end, I'll let you have the last word on the program.
The Honorable Supreme Court in this judgment yesterday has very clearly said there can be no fixed formula. You cannot straitjacket, you cannot put the conditions and guidelines in a straitjacket. There can only be guidelines. So what we expect ultimately at the end of the day, that both parties have to come out honestly. Both parties have to give relevant facts about each other and have to, as Madam Rajalakshmi said, that you have to respect each other. The fact that you have lived with your spouse for a certain number of years, that is a very major factor that has to be taken into account. The
Sure.
earning capacity of the wife, the children, if there is any illness, extra coaching classes, etc., etc. All these factors have to be taken into account, and
Right.
we ultimately hope that some relief can be given to women who do not face destitution and vagrancy at the end of the day.
Okay. On that note, then I'll call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. What's coming out of this discussion is that the Supreme Court judgment is a step in the right direction. It streamlines the process of matrimonial disputes and the issue of maintenance. People need to respect the law and they should live with dignity. Do not lie to the courts. Try to be as honest as possible and try to settle matters with civility is what the panelists are suggesting. At the end of the day, however, these laws dealing with matrimonial disputes and maintenance are not gender neutral, and not all of them, of course, support the stay-at-home husbands or the men in that particular case is what the panelists are suggesting. So probably it's time to take a relook as far as all these laws are concerned and bring in one umbrella law dealing with all the aspects. With that, it's a wrap. See you again next time.